Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Well, happy Monday.
Hey, we're back. We survived the weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Michelle is finally back to some version of normal.
Some version.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty rough, but yeah, we missed going to Hill Air Force Base because the Blue Angels were there.
Right.
We kind of got to watch from a distance, like all of the pyro. I don't know if they were dropping bombs or what, but we would see these big plumes of dark smoke across the valley, and then I don't know, a minute or two later or whatever, it was like
yeah, we're 10 to 15 miles probably right from the base itself, and we can see it because it's up on a little bit of a ridge, and so you can see it well from our place. But yeah, it was I think they were simulating bombing,
probably,
had the
so
B2
people could
bomber.
kind of see, like, and probably feel the stuff. But yeah, we missed that, but that's okay because we stayed home, and I got caught up on all of my Netflix.
Good for you.
I know that you really love that. Jim's rather be on TikTok than watching a show.
Yeah.
So I bet, it's so funny because he'll say things like, I learned so much today.
Yeah. Well, it's like one thing too with TikTok is when I start a TikTok video, I don't know how it's going to turn out. When I sit with you and you're watching a rom-com, I know how that's going to turn out. So
I know, but it's still fun.
Is it?
It's still fun. We watched that new one with Zach something, the guy from Zac Efron.
How come I know that? And you
I really, that's a great question.
Yeah.
He's like middle-aged now, and so looks older, looks great. And oh my goodness, why can't I?
Still got a little brain fog.
I really do.
Yeah.
I really do. What's her name?
Oh, Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman was in it, and it was cute.
Okay. Good. I'm happy for you.
None of you care, right? None of you care. Well, yeah, but it was lots of resting, lots of fluids, lots of tissue.
Yeah. Which I got to be careful. I'm over here wiping my eyes with a tissue that I think I just wiped the Tiger Balm. Put Tiger Balm in my nose.
You guys ever use Tiger Balm?
If you haven't tried Tiger Balm,
oh my!
Let me just say, this is not your mother's mentholatum.
No, it's really, really awesome. If you've
high potency,
it's high potency, but it's pretty great.
It works.
Yes, and I think I got that at the something market, the Asian market. Yeah. Okay, so one other thing, we got a book today or this weekend.
Yeah.
So we were having a conversation with Eric Johnson at the convention, and he said, "Hey, how would you like to get a copy of this?" And I was like, "Sure." And so we got it over the weekend, and oh my gosh, I don't know if all of you are familiar with this. It's called Car Law F&I Legal Desk Book. It is the 9th edition, so they've done quite a few of these, but it's just a reference book, and I was really enjoying going through and like looking at some of the questions. We say frequently that we are not attorneys because we're not. Sometimes we play one when we're doing our play acting thing.
Right.
But what a great thing. What a great reference. So if you I don't know if it's available on Amazon or whatever, but it's Eric Johnson is from Hudson Cook.
Right. And Hudson Cook, just for your information, Hudson Cook's been around as a law firm since I've been in the business.
They're a car
decades. Tom Hudson is amongst the original principals, and then Eric is in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I think Tom Hudson is mostly retired in Virginia or Maryland. But yeah, they're a well-established firm, and they have. So the book we're interested to see, because I think you like the method that they use. They basically just answer questions.
They just answer questions. Yeah, I can't read because I don't have my glasses.
Oh,
on. Yeah. I mean, that is not one thing that healed over the weekend.
And
my eyesight did not.
I was disappointed. It's not a picture book. Like
it's not. It's it's heavy. It's thick, and there are a lot of words.
Yeah. Not for me. Michelle will give me the Michelle notes.
Jim's not a reader.
No.
I am a reader.
Yeah.
Jim's not a reader. He likes to get Reader's Digest versions from me or the Cliff Notes.
And it's all about the ADD thing, which Tommy can relate to, our friend Tommy
Which just
Brandis.
amazes me. You can get lost in a spreadsheet.
True.
For days.
With a little help from Adderall.
With a little help from Adderall, yes. But yeah, you can get lost in a spreadsheet, but just have a real hard time focusing in on reading.
Well, yeah. Reading is different because, you read a paragraph and you realize, what did I just read? Why am I daydreaming about, the Roman Empire or whatever? Whatever.
Do you guys remember when that was a thing? Most men think about it. It's like I do all the time because that's always on my feed. I like ancient civilizations and history stuff, and so that's algorithms for the things that are out there. So again, it's called Car Law, F&I Legal Desk Book. It's the 9th edition, and I think that this was this most recent edition was from 21.
Right.
So
yeah, good stuff. It's definitely be a good reference to have around.
Yeah, we will when we have a question about that, I will keep this next to this podcast
Go to the authorities.
Equipment and say, well, based on this, and I'm not an attorney, but attorneys say.
Sure.
Okay.
Look forward to having Eric on the show one day.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll figure that out. And we got some other invitations to go out. I can say here that I'm going to send a note to Tracy Myers. I'm hoping Tracy Myers will be available to join us on the podcast soon.
We've got a big event coming up.
Yeah, I think it's August 1st, so a month away. So I'd like to get him on the podcast in the month of July to talk about that.
It looks like a great event. And I know we've talked to dealers that have
really
talked about it. That there are like some of the way that they will dissect topics and
they just volley them up. I mean, they just go around and write down the hot topics and then they pick one and it bounces around. It tends to get pretty
so the format sounds like it's fantastic.
It yeah, I love it.
So hopefully we can get him on the show sometime soon. Yep. Anything else before we get going?
Only just a reminder that we are forming that V8 Group 5, which will be dealers from 500 to 2,000. So we have some commitment, and we need to get we're trying to change the practices on that. We get a commitment from at least 4 dealers before we actually officially form the group and start billing. So that's where we're at. We just need to get at least 4 dealers in that group to fill that second one, because we did fill Group 2, which is the other group of that size.
Yeah.
And having a second group that size is nice, just because like we saw it in Group 1 and Group 4 that are the same size. Dealers can float, if they're missed their own meeting because of a conflict, they can sit in the other one. So that's a nice bonus that we have with the virtual format. So
absolutely.
I think that's it.
Awesome. All right. So today's topic
is survey of the sales department. And this is like a self-assessment.
This is a dealer survey, not a sales department survey.
Well, it's a
about
survey
the sales department.
About the sales department.
But
so it's about,
survey.
It's for dealers. General managers could certainly take it. Sales managers. This is like just a self-assessment. So it's not meant to give you, by the time we're done collecting responses, we'll have some comparison. But I think really for this is about how do you view your own, like we identified 10 areas or elements of the sales process, and we just asked dealers to take that and just kind of grade themselves in those areas so that they can see for themselves, because sometimes we just don't sit down and really do that well. And
it's always a great idea on some kind of a cadence for them to just do an assessment of the things. How effective am I? How does anything need to be updated? All of those kind of things.
And this came about because with our newcomer group last week, I kind of did this, in a less formal way. I went through this process with if that group is newcomers, they're newer to the business, and some of them are struggling. Most of them are struggling to get any real volume going. And so we're just kind of talking through the different pieces and having them think about which pieces really tend to affect sales in our experience. So you want to just go to the let's go to the quiz and let people see what questions are in there.
I'm going to change the format here.
And I emailed that, by the way, this morning out to maybe 100 or so dealers. And so,
well, Jim, tell them what they get.
Yeah. Well, you're the lovely assistant. I thought that was your thing.
Well, no, you're supposed to tell them, and then I will do the thing.
Oh, the presentation. No, I just as a little reward for those who, especially newer dealers who could use a little coaching, we just offered to 1 in 10 of the people who respond. We'll do a drawing.
Just do a drawing
on 2 weeks from today. We'll just do it on the morning show 2 weeks from today and draw the name of who.
And then get an hour of coaching, just to be able to kind of talk about some of the things that that you might be struggling with, and
right.
give you some insight.
Be able to go inside there and look at the things and give some tips based on that. But yeah, that's the idea. Mostly, as I said, it's a self-assessment, but it's meant to give that perspective. So you want to read through that?
I should have wore my glasses, but I think I can do this. Sales volume off. Sales department underperforming overall. Here's a chance for buy here, pay here, and lease here, pay here dealers and sales managers to do a self-assessment in just 10 questions. All respondents receive results to see how their own assessment compares to others. Plus, 1 in 10 will receive a free coaching session. Remember that all questions are meant to gauge your own view of your own department process, meaning how well do you do compared to how well you want to perform. Drawing will be held. So, first question: how well do you do the vehicle pricing? Comparative selling prices.
Right.
So how well would you say that you do your pricing? Is that about I know how to price well?
No, it's about competitive. It's competitive selling prices. Like how well do you do in the marketplace compared to others?
Okay. So one thing that implies is that you are looking at what your competitors are doing.
Familiar.
And you're familiar, which is important.
And you have to have a read. I mean, I've been polling dealers informally again around this idea of, do your customers hit you on price? Do they seem to choose to do business with you or not based on price? Is price a driver? Most say no.
Yeah.
That it's not about the selling price. But we hear from a lot of dealers who do talk about selling price. And so this is a chance to find out.
Yeah.
Are you competitive? Could that be amongst the things that's stunting sales?
Yeah. All right. How well do you do with flexible financing, competitive down payments, that kind of thing? So flexible financing, is that like, it's down payments?
It's basically, that's what it says in the parentheses there, is competitive down payments. It's really it's really the primary driver of financing. So, it's the next question is, okay, if it's not about price, then it's about financing. How well do you feel like you compete from a competitive financing standpoint? I think with established dealers, this will be less valuable, but I think the newer dealers, this will be something they need to figure out.
Everyone's got an opinion, that's for sure.
Yeah, and this is meant to be a self opinion, like it's a self look at how I think we could do better in this area, for example.
The next one, to the extent it has a potential impact on sales, how would you rate your inventory mix and selection?
Right.
So,
pretty straightforward.
What is it that people are seeing? I mean, because it's interesting. I would love to hear your opinion about this, but I've seen dealers that have just a very set type of inventory. We see some that have just only EVs. We've seen some that just do Toyotas. We've seen some that just do cars that are under $4,000. We see sales that are people that do all sorts of things like that. And then we see ones that it's like, you got to get eye candy, because if you don't have eye candy, you're not going to get people on the lot.
Yeah.
So that's, it's an interesting thing.
You wanted my thoughts.
I wanted your thoughts on because mix and selection, I have thoughts, but I'm just from ancillary, listening to others and things like that. But I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on mix and selection, because I know that you have encouraged people that when they're new, it's like, it's a good idea to have so many of X, so many of X, so many of X, so many of X. And then whatever your price range is, that's where you're plugging it in, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think a mix is a good idea. Certainly if you're asking me what we see, I see most dealers are saying they wish they could get more inventory. They wish they could buy more, recondition more, and have more cars on the lot. We also see, and this is partly through V8, we see that the dealers with the highest rate of sales aren't always the same ones that have the higher inventory levels. So we see dealers selling quite well and they're struggling to fill the front line, but they sell them quickly, and so they stay fresh. So I'm not sure that selection is, but the question really asks, how do you feel about your selection mix? That's what it's really asking here. But
so, and then the next one is, to the extent has a potential impact on sales, how would you rate your reconditioning process time to line?
Right.
And this is something that actually I've just because I troll Facebook for questions, things that are happening. And this seems to be something that a lot of dealers, that it's a piece of stress, is just how their costs in reconditioning and how quickly you can get it frontline.
Yeah, there's a lot of elements there. And I think, a lot of dealers will say that the reconditioning is a bottleneck, right? That they can't turn the cars around fast enough. That's the primary thing that's limiting their sales. So we want to find out. That won't be true of everyone, but we just want to hear from dealers like how do you rate your own reconditioning process now?
Yeah. Okay. Next one is, overall, how would you rate your effectiveness with advertising? Advertising is there's a lot of great vendors out there. There's a lot of people, pitching, hey, use us, and a lot of competitive pricing, a lot of just different bells and whistles. There's a lot of different stuff that's out there. So with what it is that you're currently doing, how well would you rate its effectiveness with advertising? So what is it they're measuring as far as effectiveness?
Well, that's up to them, but I just kind of made the question as broad as I could. Overall, I just said overall, how would you rate? So just advertising, not marketing, just the ads that you produce and put out there with the expectation of creating a lead or an inquiry. What is your, how would you rate your effectiveness in that area? So just get a feel for how people think about their own status in terms of, advertising in this example. But just trying to figure out, well, how do you feel like you do? Like, do you feel like that's something you could improve on?
Yeah.
Yes or no? Okay.
So the next one is in lead handling. And this is this has been a big topic with a lot of people then in terms of handling incoming sales inquiries. How would you rate your company's effectiveness at handling near-term leads, which is 1 or 0 to 7 days? And when I saw this, I was like, their needs. I would strongly advise, Jim, that there be 2 or 3 more pieces in that, because you can talk to people like Maggie, and she's like, are you calling, or are you reaching out to them within 30 minutes, within whatever, because what she's seeing, it's like he says 0 to 7 days. So that's within the week. What we see frequently is that if a lead is more than 3 days old, it's written off.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and a lot of it has to do with people, whether they are using a BDC or they're having their own sales team, work the leads. It varies. But really the question I try to, and by the way, I hear your strong advice. I only had 10 questions. So I was going to keep it to 10 questions because these car dealers are busy.
Yeah, that's true.
So I kept it to kind of divide it into what I would call near term. The warm leads, the hot leads would be in that bucket. And then I made it 8+.
There's the cold leads, which are 8+, or the warm.
I don't know if they're cold. I mean, I think what we're seeing is that the question is, how well do we do with continuing to work them when they're more than a week old?
Yeah.
It's just that's really the
some
question.
people just may have we get new leads in every week, and so we're just going to work the fresh ones. I mean, that may be what the question is.
How do you perceive that you do with the ones that are over 8? And if just kind of, we know there's a tremendous opportunity in those leads, right? In that bucket. But,
so people, how would you rate the skill level, effort, etc., of your entire sales team?
Yeah. It's not about any one person. It's just the overall sales team.
As a team.
And notice that the next question is about training. So training aside, we're just saying skill level and effort, the people that you have in those roles, how would you rate that? Is it a weakness? It is a strong point? Just give yourself a number in terms of the people that you have. And then the next one would be effectiveness with sales training. So try to separate that to say, how well do you do? Even if you got good people, right? Then how well do you do at keeping fresh with training and keeping them up to date?
And, I, from my perspective, do you do training?
Yeah.
I think there's a ton of dealers out there that don't.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So, all right. And then the next one is people. Again, how would you rate your company's sales process at the building? Not pre-visit CRM lead handling, but once they get on the lot or in the building, how would you rate your sales process?
Right. So if we're missing people at that stage, how much of it is, let's just kind of try to break it down. If we're missing people who make it to the building, let's rate each of those things. It's people, process, right?
And and it's just from my experience, there's a lot of dealers out there. It's like once they're in the building, done. Well, we that it's you just got to get them in the building, and then we're done. And then there's others that.
So what does that say? If that's true, I mean, I was just saying, if a dealer says that to us, obviously you'd want to have some comparative results to be able to say anything very definitive. But if that's true, if we really close the customers well once they're at the building, then what does that really say? It says a couple things to me. It says, one, are we only inviting in the customers who are well qualified? That could be one thing. Two, it may say that our inventory is fine. I mean, if you close most of the people who come, it's not like they get there and they're dissatisfied with your inventory and go somewhere else, right? Must be satisfied with pricing and some of those other things. So, but I think we first have to ask ourselves, this is a self-assessment. And, it's like, is it true? Are you really that good with the people who come to the lot? Are we really measuring all the people that come to the lot? I mean, those are the kind of things that I think we have to first examine in order to really make a good determination.
So this is just a self-assessment, but it's we're always talking about measure, figure out ways to measure all of these things as well, whether or not that you're surveying your team, whatever it is, and get some level of measurement on that. And then there's a bonus question. Which of the following do you advertise most? Vehicles with price, vehicles with no price, down payments, the finance program or the way you do business, NA, we don't advertise, and other.
Yeah, and real simple.
I actually gave you one and you didn't put it on here.
What?
I'm offended.
When will you be over it?
Now.
Okay.
And it was problem solving. It's like you're advertising a problem and a solution to a problem.
I actually did not hear you say that, but yeah I like that. I think, but so it's your solution oriented. Oh, that's what you meant. I think you did say something about solutions, and I just failed to get it on there. So it's like,
thanks
question,
a lot.
I can fix it. It's editable. It's editable, honey. I can fix it. So the
this is how we fight.
Yeah. And we don't find a lot of dealers doing the solution side, but again, this is just for dealers. This is a bonus question. What do you find that you advertise most? We see a lot of dealers advertise cars, right?
Oh yeah.
And so we'll find out if that is the answer that comes back here, as the primary response. But yeah, it's really just meant to give a self-assessment. And I think as much as anything, it was our attempt to identify if sales are slow. It was our attempt to identify, how about we look at these 10 areas? Let's make sure we kind of dig in and sort of self-assess in these areas. Which of these areas really needs the most attention?
Yeah.
Right.
And, I again, trolling Facebook, that it seems like there's always someone that's posting something that says, not selling anything. Where are the people? The market is so bad, whatever. Right. And so, I don't know that I could give you an answer about why you're not getting as many people in, but I can say, and we were talking about this last night, is that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Right.
And so mix it up. Do something different.
And test it when you mix it. The A/B testing thing is like, try a couple different ways and make sure you can measure both ways to see what's really working for you.
And, some kind of, obviously a Christmas promotion is not going to work in July unless you want to do Christmas in July. But, mix it up, mix it up. Do something different. Because if you feel like you're struggling on something, getting people in the door, whatever, is try something different, try something new.
Yeah.
So that's part of the where you've offered 1 in 10, we're going to draw someone to be able to get a free hour. And that's kind of one of those things is like,
Right.
let's give it an hour and see what we can come up with and solve some problems.
Sure. Yeah. We'll just have, for us, it's just offer perspective, right? And just offer some suggestions based on, what we hear. We are getting a few responses in already. Nothing real telling. I mean, most dealers are scoring themselves, fairly high. We got one that scored themselves low in terms of recon process, and one that scored,
like I said, that
very
seems to
low.
Be something that a lot of dealers talk about. It's like a struggle.
So the lowest self scores so far have been advertising and training.
Yeah.
So again, we'll bring those in and we'll share the results, and those who watch complete the thing should be able to see the results.
Absolutely.
And
we'll talk about it. And it'll be, you said it's closing in 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay.
One other quick update on Wednesday. We're going to bring the Tim Lawrence interview from NIADA. So we'll have Tim Lawrence is the CEO of LHPH Capital and one of our founding sponsors. So on this Wednesday, we will bring that interview that we did with him and share it with our listeners.
Fantastic team.
Yeah, they're great people.
Great people.
And everybody says that.
Everyone that meets that team just are like, gosh, they're just
quality people.
Good quality people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And providing a good service for the industry, right? So it's an interesting business model they have.
Very niche because not everybody does LHPH.
Yeah.
But it's like they're a solution.
Yeah, for sure.
That are doing
we definitely enjoy working with them and look forward to having more of our listeners get to know Mr. Tim Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a great guy.
Yep.
What else?
I think that's it for me. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I've got to sneeze. Just
oh
waiting.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%.
Can you
but
reach
I'm
the
like,
mute button over there?
I know.
You make it through.
I'm going to make it through.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Hey, thank you. We just really appreciate your support and listening, and we're grateful to make us part of your Monday.
Right.
Thank you so much, and for listening on one of our syndicated podcast stations. If you are and you want to be able to see the questionnaire, or if we're talking about something that is from a spreadsheet or whatever, please go and find us on YouTube.
Right.
And like and subscribe.
And I will share. Yeah, I will share the actual survey in the Facebook or in the threads from this morning podcast right now while I'm thinking about it.
It's a quick survey.
Yep.
Just do it.
Yep.
You might win an hour and doing all that. So,
Yep.
All right. Thanks so much again, everyone, for joining, and have a great rest of your week.